Welcome you back to the Patrick Netherton Show right here on 1130 The Tiger. He's Rogers. I'm Patrick. Hope everyone is doing well out there. As our Netherton Show Coaches Caravan continues to roll on, Skip Holtz from Louisiana Tech earlier, Frank Selfo from Southeastern Louisiana earlier, and one of our good friends about 45, 50 miles east of here is Broderick Fobbs, the head coach of the Grambling State University Tigers, one of our favorites. Coach, how are you, man?
Doing great, man, and I appreciate the compliment, man. You know, you guys are one of my favorites as well. You know, it's really good to be back in the saddle again and getting an opportunity to visit and share with you guys, and looking forward to an exciting fall.
Well, the spring was not kind to you in a lot of ways, Fobbs. It was you dealt with a lot of COVID issues. You lost 3 games off the schedule. I'll say this for you. I don't know if you can say it or not, but honestly, if it wasn't the Bayou Classic, you probably wouldn't have played in the game against Southern. You had a lot of people out. You were dealing with a lot of COVID issues. Do you feel like the fall in some ways is a bit of a reset for you to hopefully kind of go back and get to some sense of normalcy for G-men football?
Well, absolutely. You know, I think there are some good things that did come out of the spring. You know, we were able to get some guys some experience that normally wouldn't have gotten an opportunity to play, which created some confidence, you know, for those guys as well, going into off season and going into the summer months and going into our OTAs. So there was something that was good out of it, you know, but, you know, it was extremely tough. You know, it's hard to do things, you know, and do it the way that you would like to do it, you know, when you're dealing with all of the COVID issues and all of the stuff that you have to go through in order to just put a team on the field. So we're excited about getting a chance, you know, to play this game the right way and do it at the time that we normally expect to do it, and play really, really good college football.
Let's step back for a second, because we've had a lot of off-field things that have dominated the news, and I ask all of our coaches this during the caravan because, you know, these are the things that are real-world application stuff, and in the end, y'all are coaches, but you're also part of your job is to make men and to make good citizens out of these kids that you're coaching, and kind of turn them into adulthood. So let's start with COVID and the vaccines, because this is kind of the thing that's dominating. We're back to a mask mandate here in Louisiana. The NCAA just came out with its COVID protocols. Basically, if you're vaccinated, you're okay. If you're not, you're going to get tested regularly like we saw last year. What are the conversations like between you and your men who are adults and can make their own decisions for their own selves? What are those conversations been like as you've talked to them about the vaccine and about COVID this year?
Well, I think the thing that, you know, that we've shared with our players, and we've done a really good job of communicating these things to our players, is the fact that, you know, first thing is, you know, the game is the game, and you know, it's a privilege to play college football. And there's always going to be some things that, you know, necessarily you don't want to do, you know, in order to participate in the game. You know, when you add into it conditioning, when you add into it booster shots and all the other things that you have to do just to get on the college campus. So this is no different. You know, of course, you know, everyone has an opportunity to choose what they would like to do, but we also have to protect, you know, what we have, which is the program and the players in it. So with so many hurdles that are asked to be jumped and red tape that you have to go through, you know, the safest thing to do is just go ahead and take the vaccination, so that, you know, you don't have to necessarily worry about those hurdles and deal with, you know, the ramifications of missing anything. So all of our kids have been talked to on several occasions. We had a huge Zoom chat on Sunday night at 7 o'clock for parents and also for the players included, just to kind of, you know, ease their mind, but then also to let them know that, you know, there are certain things that has to happen in order for them to participate, you know, on campus this year.
Makes perfect sense. Talking to Broderick Fobbs, the head coach of Grambling. All right, the other major off-the-field issue that's come up is the name, image, and likeness. And it's interesting because, you know, it kind of runs the gamut, right? You have we talked to Frank Selfo and Hammond, right? Hammond is a small town, but he said the businesses by and large have been receptive. You're in one of the ultimate small college towns in Grambling, but, you know, you're nearby Ruston, and you have one of the great brands in all of college football history. I'm curious, have you seen some interest peaking in name, image, and likeness stuff? Are you seeing guys being able to, you know, potentially profit off of who they are and the name that they have?
Well, I think, yes, we have, to answer your question, but I think also too, you know, when you look at, over the scope of college football for all these years, these student athletes should benefit from their name, image, and likeness. I just think it should be done in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
For example, my thing is, I think there's something to be said about, going to college and participating in amateurism, athletics, playing college football. I think you learn a lot from not having much, which is a good thing. But I think also too, with the cost of attendance checks that these student athletes are getting, I think that is suffice enough. And I think what should happen is, each student athlete that actually participates in these championship bowls, there should be a percentage, of those particular bowls actually going to the student athlete, and basically it should be in a fund for them that they can actually pull from in the next 4 to 5 years once they graduate. And if it's done that way, then now if I'm not an NFL football player, I may have a nice nest egg of, maybe $250,000 or $150,000 in an account that I can actually have for myself, once I complete graduation after my 4 to 5 years. That's the way I think it should be done. But, I think when you look at everything that's going on, and when you look at the opportunities that's going to be provided to these student athletes, it is a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing, because you're giving an 18-year-old, this type of money, and you all know, that's where the vultures, that's where the demons, that's where all of the things lie, wherever the money is.
Hey, Northwestern State isn't coming in here, Fobbs. Northwestern State demons aren't coming here to take your money, man. Come on now.
I wasn't talking about those.
I know. Hey, but I think this is actually also an interesting thing, because I feel like, and I've always felt that we miss something in high school and college. There's a lot of education about esoterics and academics and things, but I don't know that there's a ton of real life education that goes on.
Right.
How to balance your checkbook, how to do taxes, that kind of thing. If nothing else, maybe this is a little bit of an earlier introduction for some of these guys into what, sort of real world finances are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not to mention, when they get their Pell Grant check, it's going to be cut a little bit based off of the amount of money that they've gotten from their name, image, and likeness, and then also having to pay taxes, at the end of the year. So there's a lot of things that are forcing these kids to learn a lot more. But I just think, when you give a young kid, that type of money, if his head is not on straight, there's a lot of things that can come his way that he's going to have to deal with.
Yeah, no doubt
and
about
I'm all for them. I'm all for them getting the money. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for them getting the money. But I think the key is when they get the money. I think they should get that money when they depart from the program with a degree, where now, they have a nice nest egg of money in order to take with them.
One thing that critics of the NIL say is that it feels like it could in some way, shatter the locker room, divide the locker room, the haves and the have-nots, so to speak, right? The star quarterback gets a big NIL deal, and his offensive line doesn't get anything, and they don't want to block for the guy. Do you feel like that is something that could happen, or do you feel like the team camaraderie is there no matter what?
Well, I think it depends on the maturity of the football team. I think in some locker rooms that will be the case, but I think also in other locker rooms that are on really good teams, I don't think that will be the case. But it definitely can be something that can creep in. Anytime you add money to any situation, it creates division. It can. So there's a lot of things, in my opinion, that were not thought about prior to doing all of this, and and in some ways, it almost looks like an anarchy, so to speak, with what's going on. When you look at, the transfer portal and guys just going wherever they want, and no rules, no ramifications for decisions that are being made. I just think all of this stuff, is very, very tough, not only for the kid, but also for the coaches involved, because my thing is, I think the whole question, the answer to the question for me is, in the long run, does this make the game better? Does it make the coaches better? And then ultimately, does it make the players better? and I don't know if that is an actual really positive thing, especially when you look at the fact that there are thousands of student athletes who were originally awarded scholarships that entered the transfer portal, and now we're getting ready to start training camp in a day or so, and they don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah. Yeah, the transfer portal, you're talking, 2,500 kids or so that entered in the last year, and there's just not going to be that many landing spots. And unfortunately, Fobbs, that's going to be that's a real-world education, but not in a positive way.
Absolutely.
And I'll be honest with you. I'm not against kids having the freedom to go where they want. I don't like the idea, though, that they may get bad advice or they may not want to stick it out and then ultimately really, as you mentioned, have nowhere to go, right? They go in the portal thinking they're going to go somewhere, and then no one they overvalue their own, they overvalue themselves.
Right. And my thing is, when you look at development from a child all the way to adulthood, there's a time when you're completely protected. But then there should also be a time, which is college and teenage years, where you somewhat have to feel the ramifications for what you do.
Mm-hmm.
But you're still somewhat protected before you get into adulthood. We're basically creating a system where you're going from being completely protected to now all of a sudden you have no protection and no training wheels, and that can be, dangerous for a lot of young people.
Last thing before we talk about what's on the field for the G-men, we've seen, and you and I talked about this a few months ago, we've seen an interesting sort of star power enter your league in terms of coaches and really enter the HBCU realm in terms of coaches, and you've got one of them to open up your season up in Canton when you'll be facing Eddie George, the new coach at Tennessee State. Positives and negatives with, a Deion Sanders at Jackson State, and obviously he, call me coach. Nick Saban, you call him coach, you don't call him Nick, that kind of thing. There's some positive and negative that seems to go with having that kind of star power showing up at the HBCU level.
Well, the first thing that I will say, is everyone, has the right to determine, how they should be addressed. If you feel like, you don't like being called something, then you should basically voice your opinion about that. And then everyone should give some measure of respect to each person. I do believe that. But ultimately, respect is earned. And then secondly, my thing is, this league and the conference that we play in, it has always produced NFL players. It has always produced graduates. It has always produced Hall of Famers. The only thing that, in my opinion, that Coach Sanders has done is he brings a level of a spotlight that is already on him, that basically shines on the league now because he's in the league. Everything that is being talked about that is being brought to the league is not being brought to the league. It's already been in the league. There's just a spotlight being shined on the league a lot more now.
Yeah.
Where now you know who Walter Payton is before he becomes Walter Payton. You know who Doug Williams is before he becomes Doug Williams. That's the only difference now. And, of course, we appreciate him for the spotlight. But everything that has been done has already been done. And it's continually being done even before he got here.
That's well said. Broderick Fobbs, head coach of the Grambling Tigers. All right, so let's talk about on the field, coach. We mentioned during the spring, I say last year, it was a few months ago now. Your guys dealt with a lot of COVID. You had a lot of guys out. You dealt with starting quarterback that withdrew. I mean, all of this stuff happened. Tell me about what your on the field team is going to look like heading into the fall when you start on September the 5th against Eddie George and Tennessee State.
Well, we feel really good about our football team. A lot of things happened to us, in the last couple of years, starting, March of 2020. We really, really felt, going into spring practice at that particular time before COVID hit, that may have been one of the more talented football teams that we've had here since we've been here. But in the midst of going through that situation with kids being at home and not being able to share with them, spend time with them, and enjoy our players, we had about 8 or 9 guys up front, offensive line-wise, that entered the transfer portal. But the thing that basically the NCAA did not understand and did not do is, they allowed kids to transfer, but we were at a dead period where we weren't allowed to go out and recruit more players.
Mm-hmm.
And when you come from a program where it's built on relationships and it's built on making sure that you look a guy eye to eye and make sure you're getting the right guy, it's very, very difficult to replenish the guys that walked out of our program. Well, when that happens, then you end up with a team that is very, very young, very, very vulnerable, and then you add COVID to it, you really become a thin football team. So that's what we went through. And when you look at of the 4 games we played, we had a chance in 2.5 of them, to win those ball games. That says a lot, But since that particular time, we've been able to replenish. We've been able to get our players in here. We've been able to get our offensive linemen in here. And the truth be told, every student athlete that we have replaced within our organization is a much better student athlete than we lost. And that's great, and that gives you an opportunity to be an exceptional football program, and then also an exceptional coaching staff.
When we see the G-men, give me some names. Who are the guys that are gonna pop out for us, and guys that we're gonna notice on either side of the ball?
Well, definitely you'll see C.J. Russell, running back from Arcadia, who's an exceptional athlete. I think he will definitely light up the league and really be someone that you notice. Elijah Walker will be a quarterback that originally signed with Louisiana Tech that you will see. There may be some possibilities of you seeing Noah Bolden, who's our big-time sought-after quarterback, 4-star kid that came here from New York, and, a number of other guys, But we feel really good about our depth on our team. Our job now is to just get them playing hard and fast, but also get them to Saturdays healthy. We feel if we can do that and play the game the right way with the right mentality and execute the plan, we feel really, really good about our football team.
Well, look, we love you and certainly know that the program is in the best of hands with you at the as the head G-man. No doubt about that, and we certainly wish you the best of luck, Coach. We love when Grambling is successful. We love when you guys have a lot of wins and a lot of fun during the season. We're hoping that for you this year.
We appreciate you guys so much, Pat, and look forward to seeing you guys in the future.
All right, Broderick Fobbs, head coach of the Grambling State University Tigers.